and oil and gas environmentalists will answer. You congregate all these people in one place. But when you see, one thing again we need to understand, because of the dynamism of technology, we can, whether we continue to deceive ourselves as Nigerians or not, people read these things. People have an interpretation of how we are playing around with ourselves. Let me give you one practical example to let you know that the current generation of leaders have truly gone off the track as far as the oil and gas industry in Nigeria is concerned. And this is the practical example. From 1965 to 1989, that we're talking about 25 years. Warri Refinery was constructed in 1965. 1978, Port Harcourt Refinery was constructed in 1965. Then in 1968, you had the Warri Refinery. In 1980, you had the Kaduna Refinery. In 1989, you had the second Port Harcourt Refinery. So in 25 years, the then generation of leaders took that crude petroleum law then and were able to construct 4 good refineries. But from 1990 to now, 26 years, the current generations of leaders have not been able to construct one single refinery. Absolutely. And have not been able to even maintain the old ones. That on its own will tell you that the model and the approach has completely changed. So if we want this country to move well, if we want this country to work, please let us be serious and fix it, especially as regards the oil and gas industry.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Adigun in Abuja. Now, we're actually looking at the PIB and the economy. So, National Assembly has told us that they're going to pass this bill in January. What is the import of that to Nigeria's economy? So such that we can be looking forward to January and the passage of this bill.
Thank you, Alero. I think Mr. Bala has not read the PGIB. I'm very confident he hasn't read it. I'm very confident again that a lot of people haven't read it because people talk about NNPC as if NNPC is in the PGIB. That's not correct. NNPC is just about 2 chapters in the whole PGIB. And I think it's very not fair to people to criticize something you haven't read. The PGIB speaks exactly to what Mr. Bala said. It speaks to all the issues talked about. The only things missing in the current PGIB is the fiscal framework and the revenue framework. That is all that's missing there. And the reason why it has not happened, that hasn't been there, is because of several reasons. One, we are a period of low oil prices. You don't do your physicals when your prices are very low because you don't get the best deal for the country. One of the reasons why the economy is suffering is because in 1992, when the government was trying to encourage people to go offshore, they gave a lot of incentives in the fiscals. Now, in the past 20 years, the fiscals haven't been reviewed. Now, you can't go now and tell IOCs who have invested money and say, well, we're reviewing fiscals now because now oil prices are very low and other things. Now, when you say environmental issues, Mr. Alex spoke about gas flaring and issues there. They have some discussions about that in the PGIB. I urge both of them to read it. It's there. You can't change an industry and make it efficient without a governance bill. The governance bill is not speaking about NNPC. NNPC is one operator in the industry. It talks about DPR, the power of DPR and the regulator. One of the issues affecting the industry right now is regulatory oversight that is conflicting. You have some powers in the Ministry of Environment, some in DPR. The EGASPIN laws are convoluted. Another issue about it is the fact of the powers of the minister, which are very, very well detailed in the PGIB. In fact, the PGIB speaks a lot to the Logic Bill, which Mr. Alex is referring to. So there's a basis of these things, but people haven't read it. And when people haven't read something, there's always misinformation going out there. Now, back to your question about the economy. The biggest challenge we have right now is because we have no buffers. When oil prices were doing very, very well and going very, very high, we didn't save any money. Nigerians spent everything we had and incurred debt. We have a debt, NNPC has debt profile of 6.2 billion to IJVs. There are other debts in other areas. NPDC is not producing enough to sustain the economy. Now, this is what the PGIB addresses. It gives the power for NNPC to restructure the existing joint ventures. Maybe it's time to move to the corporation. Maybe it's time we can find the banking sector in Nigeria lending to the sector. What the 2 analysts will tell you is currently we don't have an oil sector industry in Nigeria. What we have is a foreign operated oil sector. The marginal producers of Nigerians are about 12%. It means our economy is run by Mobil, Shell, Chevron, and such. Part of those things is what the PGIB corrects. The more numbers of people that we can bring to the sector, the more people that have interest, the more people that can invest, the more people that can bring in money, the more jobs we can create. Our sector right now has only 14% contribution to GDP. Reason why? Because we are all in crude oil sales. So we're actually an export nation. We don't have anything downstream. Let's talk about the refineries, and there are only 3 refineries operational, maybe at 26% capacity. Why? Because there's no money to fix it. Not the refineries themselves, which is not the biggest problem, but the supply networks. The pipelines, the 5,000 kilometers of pipelines we have, only about 2,183 are functional. You need a lot of money to come in there. People have to get the point. Nigeria is broke. We don't have money. We haven't done the right things in a long time, and we're trying to correct things. How do you bring investors into an economy to invest on your pipelines when there's no law for them to do that? How do you ensure that the pipeline, PPMC, can actually make money from pipelines and do throughfare without a governance bill? How do you ensure that investors can co-locate on the refineries? That is what the PGIB speaks to. So in terms of benefit to the economy, this can transform the gain of the oil sector in Nigeria. It can bring more jobs. It can increase capacity. It can bring efficiency. So people shouldn't think about it from NNPC. NNPC is just an operator. And it's one part of it. Yes, it has a larger-than-life thing because of the joint ventures it controls. But the key issue is this. The laws we are using right now are very, very old. They were written years ago. The last review at the laws was maybe 92. So when you talk about, okay, one expert was the best because they were the most sensible, the issue is not the expert that wrote the bill. People should read the bill. If the bill defaults on principles, does not be the principles of transparency, accountability, of good governance, or benefits to people, that is the issue, not who wrote it. So focus on, well, it was one person, Logic was the best, the one written in Jubilee Lukman, the one written, no, that's not the issue. There are principles a bill should adhere to. Have people read the bill? Does it adhere to those principles? Then we can discuss about it.
You see, Harry, the part that you missed out is where they talked about taking it all in a holistic form, together, not breaking it down to governance, but take it all together. But we'll look at that when we come back from break. Please don't go away.